All right. Well, I think I might do the law of cause and effect another time then, because I feel it's quite an important subject, understanding the difference between the law of cause and effect and the law of compensation. But to just give you a bit of an introduction in terms of some questions that you might like to ask on that subject or others, what I'd like to do, a lot of people have sent me emails about the difference between the law of cause and effect and the law of compensation. Now, does everyone here know what I mean by the law of compensation? You're allowed to not know. Okay. All right, well, let's compare the two laws, shall we? We've got the law of compensation, and then there's the law of cause and effect. All right, so what we want to do is compare the two laws. Yep.
Law of cause and effect, is that the same as the law of attraction?
No. There's a completely different, actually.
Can you explain that too?
Sure I can. So the question asked, was that on? I don't think. No, it didn't sound like it was on.
Testing. You've just got to get close.
Okay. Yeah, the law of attraction is very similar to the law of cause and effect in the way upon which it operates, whereas the law of compensation has some very, very specific things involved with it. So I'd like to talk about the law of compensation a bit first. Right? The law of compensation, firstly, it operates upon the human soul. It doesn't operate upon anything else. So it's one of the highest laws of the universe. It's a part of the natural love laws. And remember, the natural love laws are only superseded by the divine love laws. So remember, when we discussed a hierarchy of laws, there was firstly the physical laws, and then there were the metaphysical, or what people call the spiritual laws, the metaphysical. So the physical laws operate upon the physical universe, our physical bodies and all of the other things in the physical universe. The metaphysical laws all operate upon the physical universe of the spirit world, if you like. Therefore, they operate upon a spirit body and everything else in the spirit world. Then there's a whole layer of laws that are soul-based laws. And they only operate upon the human soul. They don't operate upon any other being in the universe other than the human soul. And the soul-based laws are higher in nature than the metaphysical or physical laws. Now, the first section of soul-based laws are what you'd call the laws of natural love. In other words, the laws about love in terms of when you are being loving to somebody else and when somebody else is being loving to you. And of course, the law of compensation revolves around the penalties if you're not loving. And when I say the penalties, the damage that's done to your own soul or to the soul of another person if you aren't loving. And they are all basically soul-based laws. And they are all laws of natural love. And then there's the soul-based laws of divine love. So we'll put that as and the divine love laws all operate also upon the human soul and no other being. So that all the laws of divine love operate upon the human soul, and they're all about the connection between your soul and God's soul. So the connection between yourself and God. So these operate between the connection between yourself and God. These operate on the connection between yourself and other people. And these operate upon the physical part of your spirit body, which is your spirit body. The spirit, what you call your spirit body, and what a lot of people call spiritual, is really metaphysical. It's still physical body, but it's a spirit one rather than a material one. And then the physical laws all operate upon the physical world. So you've got a hierarchy of laws, if you like. Now, the law of compensation operates upon this level, at that level. So in other words, it operates upon the human soul, and it's to do with the laws of natural love and when the laws of natural love are broken. Does that make sense? The law of attraction operates in a more general sense in that it operates upon all of these laws. It encompasses all of those areas. So the law of attraction there are certain attractions in the physical that occur due to the law of attraction. So for example, magnetism is a law of attraction at the physical level. Does that make sense? The way your cell structure in your body stays together and is maintained is all about a law of attraction between the soul and the physical world. So these are all things that are physical in nature, and therefore the law of attraction operates upon, or has its scope of operation, if you could think of it as that, upon all of those different areas. Whereas the law of compensation doesn't. The law of compensation is specifically operating at this layer, the soul-based level, the law of natural love. And as a result of that, it is a higher law in the sense that it would determine your happiness to a far greater degree than the law of attraction. So that means that the law of compensation needs to be taken into account if you are unhappy. Because a lot of unhappiness is the result of our law of compensation at work because we've been acting out of harmony with love. So for example, let's say I'm in a relationship and the relationship is pretty topsy-turvy, you know. I'm not that happy in the relationship. Well, there's only a couple of things that can be going on there for me in the relationship, and they'll be related to the laws of love being broken at the soul level in the relationship. So whenever I break or my partner breaks a law of love, then what will happen is the law of compensation will kick into effect and there will be automatic soul-based pain in the relationship. Does that make sense? So that's very, very different than the law of cause and effect, because the law of cause and effect operates again, like the law of attraction, it has a scope of operation in all areas of the universe. Physical, the spiritual world or the metaphysical world, but also the soul-based world as well. The law of cause and effect has its operational scope in all of those areas. Whereas the law of compensation only has its operational scope in one area, which is the second highest hierarchy of laws that God has created, the human soul-based laws. Does that make sense to everyone? A lot of blank feelings coming from the audience about that. So can you see how, like every law that God creates has certain specific scopes of operation? It operates upon something. And many of the laws operate upon the entire universe, in every area of the universe, in every, what you would call, layer. So these are all dimensional layers, if you like, of the universe. So you've got the physical dimensional layer, you've got the metaphysical dimensional layers, of which there's 21 of those, and then you've got the soul-based dimensional layers, which are still being created. And the law of cause and effect and the law of attraction are laws that operate in every one of those areas, or every one of those universes, if you like. But the law of compensation operates specifically only on the human soul. It doesn't operate upon animals, and it doesn't operate upon birds, and it doesn't operate upon insects, and it doesn't operate upon the celestial physical bodies like the moon, the sun, and so forth. It doesn't operate on any of those things. It only operates on the human soul. Does that make sense to everyone? That's the law of compensation.